Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Prem. I'm a senior marketing specialist here at Creospark. So, exciting stuff. We are here to talk about governance in the age of AI. Tools like Microsoft 365 Copilot are now becoming a part of our daily work. People are using Copilot to write emails, create documents, and even summarizing information faster. But the thing, this brings up to a very important question. Can we trust what AI is showing us? Copilot does not work on its own. It uses the data and access already inside your Microsoft 365 environment. So it depends on what people have access to, what data exists in your system, and any gaps or issues that already been there. And this directly affects what AI can see and what it shows back. For a lot of organizations, especially in areas like legal, finance, or government, this is not just about saving time. It's about keeping your data secure, making sure information is correct, and being responsible for what is shared. And so that today we'll focus on something very important. How to make sure AI is not just useful, but also safe and reliable. We'll go through what Copilot can access, what governance looks like, and how to prepare your organization step by step. So let's get started. All right, so let me start by introducing your host for today, Creospark. We are a team of Microsoft 365 experts who help organizations create better employee experience. We focus on improving digital workspace, productivity using Microsoft 365, and we have our offices based out of Davis, California, and Toronto, Canada. Our our work is built around three main key areas. Modern work is helping teams work from anywhere on any devices in a very simple and flexible way. Process transformation is helping businesses to go digital, automate tasks, and use AI to handle repetitive work. On secure cloud, making sure your systems are secure, compliant, and ready for today's work environment. We use Microsoft tools like Microsoft 365, Copilot, Power Platform, SharePoint, Teams, Dynamics, and Azure to help our organizations achieve real business results. Next slide. All right, so before we jump in, just a quick little things to help you get the most out of today's session. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or Q&A panel at any time. We'll keep an eye on them. We'll also have some useful handouts prepared for you. So make sure you stay with us till the end of the webinar to get access. Plus, there will be a webinar giveaway, so definitely stick around for that. You will also receive a certificate after attending today's session. Also, don't worry if you miss anything during the session. We'll send the full recording to your email next week as well. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so let me quickly walk you guys through what we will cover today. First, we'll look at how Copilot actually interact with your data, what it can see, and how it works behind the scenes. Then we'll talk about governance foundation. It depends on things like access, structure, and control. And next, we'll focus on something very important, how to trust the output from AI and how to make sure they are reliable and easy to verify. We'll also go through Microsoft 365 built-in governance and compliance tools and where they fit into all of this. And finally, we'll share a practical framework that you can use to start scaling AI responsibly in your organization. And by the end of the session, you'll have a clear understanding of how to move forward with Microsoft Copilot with more confidence and control. All right, exciting. Before I carry on, I wanted to quickly introduce myself and the speakers for today. My name is Prem. I'm a senior marketing specialist here at Creospark. Next, we have Diana. She's our business analyst, and Vibha, our senior business analyst. I'll pass it off to you guys.
All right. Thanks, Prem. Yeah, my name is Diana Kaltenborn. I'm one of the business analysts here with Creospark. I've been with Creospark for about 4 years now, and I do a lot of my work with everything, wonderfully BA related with gathering requirements, and also do a lot of work with compliance. So, point of this webinar today. Vibha?
Hi everyone. Thank you for joining. So yeah, I'm Vibha Kakar. I'm a senior business analyst, been with Creospark for over 2 years, and I have experience in SharePoint migrations, process automations, and Copilot agents, Copilot chatbot projects. Yeah, again, been you know going across the requirements with the clients, giving them improvement options and things like that. Yeah, excited for today.
All right. And to move forward, I'm going to start talking now. Thanks, Prem. So next up, we're just going to start off this webinar with a poll. So before we dive in, we're just going to ask, like, how ready do you feel that your organization is ready for AI? So this can be very ready, we use it all the time, ready, we are prepared and have good policies in place, not that just you're using it, not ready, not being sure where to start, and very unready. AI seems like a risk. So AI has been incredibly popular. So generative AI has been incredibly popular in the last few years, but there's also been noted risk in its usage without proper governance in place. Some organizations took a staged approach. Some let users kind of dive in immediately, but we know that every organization is at a different stage. So just let us know, take this quick poll on where you stand today, and then we'll move forward. Okay, I can already see some of the answers coming in. Um,
We're seeing a lot of responses.
yeah, and it looks like right now it is split between ready, being prepared, and have good policies in place. Oh, still more coming in, but still tied right now, and not ready and not sure where to start. So that is an even split between two very good like use case groups. Um, there are a couple saying very ready, use it all the time. So just active use of it versus very well versed in having proper policies and like strict governance kind of in place there. Not being ready and not being sure where to start, I mean, you're in a great place to be to start learning about at least like the governance policies in there, and then not like very unready, at least one person very unready, and AI seeming like a risk, which is a very valid approach to have because these generative AI tools that have been more popular in the last few years, again, are incredibly powerful tools and can pull out a lot of data within your organization and release a lot of data like in your organization to various parties. And it can be a little bit overwhelming not knowing where to start, especially like with all security features and policies and just maybe not being sure where to start with governance. So thank you for collaborating in that poll right there. And to get us started off for why we're here today, other than already going through the agenda, we're going to start off with a quote from Brad Smith. He's the vice chair and president of Microsoft, and saying that the key is to strike the right balance, recognizing that we need innovation to flourish while ensuring responsible development and deployment of AI. So we often think of governance as like a set of rules and policies, and that's kind of what it is. But at its core, it's about creating a framework that allows organizations to make the best decisions consistently, securely, and efficiently. So whether or not your organization is implementing AI today, right now, in the next week, in the next month, sometime in the future, having that strong governance throughout your entire Microsoft 365 experience can ensure that collaboration, compliance, and security are built into your daily operations. So it's not about like one-time decisions. It's about setting up the right processes that will serve your organization right now and in the future when it's implemented. So then next up, I will pass it off to Vibha to go over this next section.
Thank you. Thanks, Diana. All right, everyone, thanks for joining in. So let's get into our first topic for today. That's AI is here, but are we ready? So what we are seeing today in today's scenario is that AI capabilities are built into core M365 workloads. Like as you see on the screen, it's there in Teams, Outlook, SharePoint, OneDrive, and basically broader through entire Microsoft Cloud. So let's start with Teams. So Copilot is already helping with things like meeting summaries, chat insights, and context assistance. If we look into Outlook, Copilot is supporting smarter email drafting and prioritization. And then in SharePoint, Copilot agents in SharePoint help users quickly create and share agents for specific purposes, such as answering questions about source material or summarizing information. For example, for example, if it's HR site, a person go in and check for, business travel, what are the reimbursements which are available for business travel and things like that, using those agents. Yeah, so these agents work on behalf of users. They enhance the knowledge sharing and teamwork. Uh, Next, if we check the OneDrive, so Copilot in OneDrive allows user to ask questions about documents, request comparison between two documents, and generate summaries or even audio overviews. So this shift from traditional search to asking questions makes it much easier to manage personal productivity as well as enterprise knowledge. And through the entire, at the center of this ecosystem, as we see on the screen, is Copilot, which actually doesn't introduce a new data source. It simply connects and reasons over the content that already exists across these platforms for your organization. And it uses the existing permissions, governance, and security rules, which are already in place. So an important point to emphasize again over here is that AI does not bypass any controls. So the admins do not have to worry about that. Copilot and other AI experience basically inherit existing permissions, sensitive labels, DLP policies, and governance settings. So all these worries, which basically worries any admin, these are all the Copilot is basically just inheriting those. So if there's a if something is overshared or poorly governed today, right, in today's scenario, then AI will definitely surface that risk faster and bring it up much more quicker, because it will not create any new access, but if there's already a loophole in the system, it will definitely reflect over there, right? So that's why AI readiness is basically just getting governance readiness, right? So just making sure that your policies and your sensitive labels, everything is already in place. So through strong information architecture, clean permissions, data classifications, and security boundaries, we can actually determine whether AI becomes a good productivity accelerator or a risk amplifier, right? So when we are talking about adopting Copilot or AI more broadly, we are basically not talking about a single tool. What we are talking about is how well the M365 Foundation is set up to support AI safely and effectively, right? Next slide, please. Awesome. Yeah, so let's get deep into governance policies for now, right? So every organization needs governance, but there's no universal template. It's catered to the way your organization actually works. So starting from when you first migrated your data and when you first created a site or a team to when you're actually archiving it, right? So it's a complete life cycle of that data. So policies around site creation, permissions, and say data classification need to align with how your team works. Otherwise, they either get ignored or become like bottlenecks in your process. So the most effective policies, again, are those which are thoughtfully designed, adaptable, and structured in a way that supports both security and productivity, and but does not have any impact on your BAU, right? Yeah, so here are some of the must-haves for governance for your SharePoint and Teams that you see over here, right? And these are essential policies to reduce risk and improve structure. So the first is the site and team creation policies. So who can create sites, what are the teams, and who can create those teams, how are they to be named, right? Next is life cycle policies. So like what happens to inactive teams or sites, what are the retention and archival rules and policies around that. Next, we have permission and role-based access control. So basically like who would own that site, who can edit and view files, what are those who is actually granting those permissions and what is the procedure around it, right? Um, and the next three policies are related to specific to data. So it's the DLP policies, the GDPR policies, and the data classification and sensitivity labels. So these actually help us to, like, for the admins to define and answer a lot of questions, like what types of sensitive data must be protected from accidental or unauthorized sharing, which workloads should DLP policies apply to, for example, like Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, Teams, endpoints, what is it, right? Then when should users be warned, blocked, or allowed to override a DLP action? At what scenario is that, right? How are DLP incidents reviewed, escalated, and remediated in the organization? And how should DLP policies align with Copilot usage and AI generated content exposure, right? And the last one is obviously like very important. What are the rules around external sharing and guest access controls? Yeah, next slide, please. Thank you. Yeah. So apart from the M365 like workloads and apps that we have seen, such as like Teams, Outlook, SharePoint, OneDrive, where Copilot is there. Apart from that, Copilot is also available in Power Platform too, right? So if you're talking about Power Automate, users can explore AI in Power Automate to add automation or workflows, to generate content, initiate a trigger, perform follow-up actions or processes, and enhance any workflow for optimized speed and accuracy. Apart from that, we can also use it in a Copilot in Power BI to make you powerful automation capabilities, to analyze like large data sets if anything is there, and generate good enhanced insights in just, giving a good prompt, and you will get that, right? Other than we also have, as part of like Power Platform, we can also use it in Power Apps as well. So we can use Copilot or AI in Power Apps to efficiently and effectively create more powerful and smarter custom apps by giving good prompts and giving like access to what is required. Yeah. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so let's discuss on like common governance gaps. So this is usually what we see when when our clients, what our clients usually face before Copilot rollout. And I'm also going to define like how we help them out in those scenarios. So the first one is like unsecured data permission. So that's the most like common one that comes up, right? So the organization must ensure that data permissions are secure and that users have the appropriate access to the information they need. There should not be like just access given to a user who should not be having that access to that specific data, right? Then we have missing sensitivity labels. So admins definitely need to deploy sensitivity labels to help distinguish between like confidential and non-confidential information, right? Then lack of Teams or SharePoint governance, there is definitely a need to establish proper governance policies for Teams and SharePoint to manage content and permissions effectively. Like who can actually go ahead and create a new team, or who can actually create a new SharePoint site, and what are the approvals that are needed to actually go ahead and create that, right? Yeah. So the next one is around change management. So some companies like do not have a change management plan. So it is very important to implement a change management plan to ensure a smooth transition and deployment of Copilot. The users should understand what Copilot is, and they should be, eager and willing to use that. So through good sets of trainings and videos and recordings, they will be able to use Copilots to its maximum efficiency, right? Yeah, next is obviously around that, the untrained staff. So again, we need to provide adequate training and resources to staff to ensure that they are actually familiar with and they're able to use Copilot effectively, even if it starts with their BAU tasks like using Outlook or Word or Teams or anything. So they should be trained well too, so that they're not like there's no hindrance in them going ahead and just trying that Copilot. Yeah. Yes, so next is around no measurement loop. So organization, basically it means that there's no feedback mechanism, right? So organization needs to establish a good and a valid feedback and monitoring loop to continuously assess and improve the use of Copilot within the organization. Yeah. So basically, sharing consequent feedback forms to the teams to understand is if they're having any issues, is that related to training, or if they're having any other issues they want to share, what is their feedback around Copilot, things like that. Yeah, so basically addressing all these gaps is crucial that we have discussed for a successful Copilot rollout. For the next part, I would like to invite Dinah to go through the topic, governance as an AI enabler.
Thanks, Vibha. And yeah, so this next section, we're just going to talk about governance, how it makes AI sustainable and how it actually is an AI enabler and not as much of a constraint as or a limiter as some people might think it to be. Governance is often viewed as a constraint, but in reality, it is actually what makes AI sustainable. It enables proper, safe, efficient AI usage because AI and governance are already deeply connected. AI doesn't replace governance. It will literally just amplify how important it is because, as Vibha had mentioned before, it doesn't bypass any rules. It doesn't break anything. It only shows, makes available what is already existing. So if you have a lapse in your governance, that's just how important AI is going to be in showing what is missing in your current structure. It's going to amplify all of that because without structure, AI pulls from outdated, unsecured data and creating compliance risk and mistrust. So AI is only as good as your governance. Poor governance is going to lead to improper data exposure and security risk. Good governance, structured governance, is going to enhance AI-driven insights. It's going to help with things like metadata, tagging, permissions. AI surfaces the right information instead of pulling from outdated files or reaching across permissions and sharing things and creating any unnecessary risk. AI follows governance rules. Again, it doesn't override them. So without clear policies, AI may expose sensitive data, like, for example, Copilot surfacing HR reports in open chats. So strong governance will transform AI in your organization into a powerful tool for security, automation, and productivity. And how do we see that now? AI regulations are here and they're consistently evolving. Right now, we have a couple of examples that we're just going to talk about. And for the evolving AI regulatory landscape, we have the EU AI Act. This is going to come into force August of this year, but this is a new law to ensure that AI systems placed on the EU market are safe, trustworthy, and respectful of fundamental user rights. This act is going to lay down uniform EU-wide rules. It's going to define which AI uses are banned. It's going to set strict requirements for high-risk AI systems. It's going to mandate transparency measurements. So, like labeling content as AI generated, because that's an issue. Create processes for market surveillance and enforcement to just overall help protecting the health, safety, democracy, rule of law within the EU. And if something starts in one continent, is going to spread that usage to others if any other organization is going to want to work in those areas. So something to look into. The NIST AI RMF. So this is the National Institute of Science and Technology, the Artificial Intelligence Risk Management Framework. A lot of words. So the AI RMF playbook, that's an example that just offers organizations detailed voluntary guidance for implementing the NIST AI framework to map, measure, manage, and govern AI risk effectively. So the AI RMS core functions are going to be governing, mapping, measuring, managing, and helping organizations to just operationalize and just have responsible AI practices across their AI lifecycle. And then last one is the ISO IEC 42001. So this is between the two organizations, the International Organization for Standardization, the ISO, and the International Technical Commission, IEC. So they developed new standards, published them in late 2023, but these standards are out there to provide guidance to organizations to help, provide, produce, and use AI systems. And it's just demonstrating responsible and ethical usage of AI. And these are only 3. And, more will be coming. The AI landscape, AI is here. The regulatory landscape is going to be consistently evolving. So it's just going to be something to keep an eye on, and, using these as reference for your organization right now can set you up for success in the future, because more will be coming. So what happens there if you adopt AI just out of the box, or just willy-nilly to all the users in your organization without governance? There are risks involved with that, as we've seen. Some of the big risks of adopting AI without governance is data compromise, sharing data with users that don't have the permission to see such data, oversharing, inaccurate outputs, very, very big stereotype of artificially generated content is that sometimes it just makes stuff up. Not the best, which is why processes and governance need to be in place to review outputs in the first place. Lack of transparency and trust. Like, if you're not trusting where the information is coming from, or if it's even accurate, that leads to distrust of some people. Like, we had some people in the beginning poll saying that AI they hadn't started using it in their organization because it was too much of a risk. Very valid. Regulatory gaps. It just exposes within your organization if there are any gaps in your regulatory setup, in your governance. So leaders just in your organizations need to be aware of these potential risks of AI adoption, and that without proper governance, it can lead to a variety of risks. It can. So AI governance is a must-have. There needs to be accountability, auditability, and human oversight in AI-assisted decisions. So established governance policies are a must-have. Many organizations underestimate governance implications because they could be overlooked as a lesser priority, or because tools could be so useful just in regular tasks. They think, what's the harm? Governance is more than just policies on paper. It's about ensuring that they are applied effectively. So a common challenge is striking the right balance. So too many restrictions and users, too many restrictions on users could just have them bypass the system. Too few controls and data security suffers. The governance isn't static. It requires continuous oversight and refinement as technology, compliance, and business evolves, especially with AI regulations consistently evolving, with people learning more, like what to do with it and what not to do with it. The most successful organizations treat governance as an ongoing strategy and not just a one-time setup. So if you have too rigid rules, users might want to work around the policies to just get the work done that they need to get done. If they're too flexible, you're exposed to compliance and security risks. And if there is no enforcement, if there is no oversight, then policies are ignored. So governance needs continuous monitoring, adjustment, and expert strategy to be successful in your organization and to reduce risk. Oh, and then next, I'm passing this next section off to Vibha to talk about governance in agents, in Microsoft agents. Sorry, I went a little too fast.
Thanks, Diana. So, all right. So before we actually start with agent governance, so let's try to understand what are like M365 agents actually. So maybe some of the teams who are here would have joined, already tried those. So M365 agents are task-specific AI assistants that are embedded directly into the Microsoft 365 ecosystem, including our day-to-day applications such as Teams, Outlook, Word, SharePoint, and Copilot. So before we talk about enabling M365 agents, it's important to understand how they actually work from a governance and security perspective. So these agents are not standalone AI tools and they do not create new access to data. They would operate fully within the M365 environment we already use today, inheriting the same identity, permissions, and compliance controls. So what this really means is that agents amplify our existing governance posture. If our controls are good and strong, agents accelerate values very safely. However, if they're weak, then agents surface those gaps much faster. So let's explore more about it. So reading about, about Microsoft 365 agents integration, right? So M365 agents are embedded directly, as I mentioned, into your BAU tools like Teams, Outlook, Word, SharePoint, and Copilot Chat. They are not separate systems and they do not operate outside of the M365 environment. Um, from a governance standpoint, again, I'm mentioning there's no security boundage to manage. So agents respect the same tenant, identity, and security model already in place. So basically, like leaders should view agents as an extension of how users already work, not a new technology stack. So if a user has access or something access to something which they should not have, uh, an agent will also have the same access. So there is need to have governance around how those accesses and permissions are granted, right? Yeah, so talking more about it, agent types and permissions. So there are basically two types of agents. The first is pre-built Microsoft agents, which are provided and managed by Microsoft. In the next slide, I will talk about and give some examples of some existing ones, which are like really, just pick and plug, and those are like really helpful to teams around. The next one is custom agents, which organizations specifically designed for their business scenarios using SharePoint or Copilot Studio. Yeah, so but again, regardless of the type, all agents inherit identity and permissions through Microsoft Entra ID. This means as agent can an agent which can basically only see, summarize, or act on data the user or service basically already has access to, right? And agents cannot bypass SharePoint permissions, Teams channel access, or any application level security. The next is governance and compliance enforcement. So all existing Microsoft Purview controls automatically apply when agents interact with data. So this includes security labels, DLP, retention and compliance policies, everything. And also these labels and Purview controls also apply to the outputs that is like summaries or recommendations. So it's basically everything that is governed by the same rules as the underlying data. Core governance principle. So agents amplify the current environment. They don't fix any governance issues and they don't create them actually any such issue. If permissions are overshared, content is stale, or ownership is not clear, agents will surface those issues faster and at a greater scale. Then when governance is well designed, agents produce trusted, accurate, and defensible outcomes. This is why governance readiness directly determines how safe and scalable AI adoption would be in M365 environment. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so let's go through some of the pre-built Microsoft agents. So as you can see, there's something called Safe Travel, which would assist employees with business travel policies, approvals, and planning. Next, we also have something called a pre-built agent called Website Q&A. So all of these are actually on Copilot Studio. Yeah, so I was talking about a website knowledge Q&A. So basically that would answer employees' questions based on like their approved internal content, whatever they're approved to have access to. It would only read from configured SharePoint sites and web sources, which are there, configured inside this specific agent. Next, we have even example of Team Navigator or org discovery agent, which would help employees find colleagues, roles, and reporting structures. Again, this would use M365 people and org data only. Very interesting one next is IT help desk agent, which would help employees troubleshoot like common day-to-day IT issues, like help with reset password or create or track any support tickets. Yeah, so this is usually in as part of Microsoft Teams, which you can add it as a plugin. And again, access is very limited to approved knowledge base and the ticketing systems. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so talking about reducing risks through controls, monitoring, and lifecycle management. So like let's start with the administrative controls, right? So we clearly define, we as in like the agent, the admins and everyone, we need to clearly define who can create, publish or share agents to prevent any sort of like over permissions, right? So preventing over permissioned or unsanctioned agent is one of the most important aspect of M365 agent governance. The most common risks that do not come from any like outside or a malicious intent, but from a well-meaning experimentation that lacks guardrails, like just user just searching for something that they know that they should not have access to, but they still search it, and unfortunately with over permissioned agent they're actually able to get access to that, right, information. So yeah, so over permissioned agents often emerge when they are connected to a broadly accessible SharePoint site, a Teams with excessive membership, or a LOB systems without scoped permissions. So unsanctioned agents typically appear when there are no clear rules governing who is allowed to create, publish, or share agents within the organization. So definitely we need to have administrative control over there. So next is around environment separation. So it's another critical safeguard. So using distinct development, test, and production environments would allow teams to experiment safely without exposing production data or users to incomplete or unvetted agents at a very niche stage. So apart from that, we will combine it with continuous monitoring, which is definitely essential. So we need to audit logs, usage telemetry, and access reviews would make agent actively visible and traceable, enable security and compliance teams to detect any anomalies or any inappropriate usage very early on, right? So make sure that logs are there, a good access reviews are there by admins to make sure that we are reviewing the agent activity. Yeah. So ultimately, the goal is to not to block any innovation, but to channel it very responsibly. So by treating agents as enterprise assets with defined life cycles, organizations can enable productivity gains while maintaining security, compliance, and executive confidence in their AI strategy. So everything that we have discussed in terms of like controls, monitoring, and lifecycle management, this is exactly what Agent 365 would bring together. So Microsoft has centralized all these capabilities into a single control plane, and it would make the process of governing agents very consistent at enterprise scale. Yeah, so going to the next slide. Yeah. So again, Agent 365 is Microsoft Enterprise Control Plane for AI agents, which is designed to help organizations observe, govern, and secure AI agents at scale across the M365 ecosystem. So it is not available right now, but it's going to be generally available soon on May 1st, 2026. But because it's a very important tool, we have added that into our, webinar today to understand like what are the options which agents would, Agent 365 would, what are the opportunities which would open up for admins with Agent 365. So Agent 365 is going to help managing AI agents across the enterprise. And basically, as organizations start using AI agents like beyond the experimentation phase, Microsoft is introducing Agent 365 to provide visibility, governance, and security, similar to how we manage users and applications today. So in future, we will be also be able to manage agents as well, right? So let's go through how admins will be able to use Agent 365 for governance. So the first one is around central visibility. So again, it's a control plane. The agents will be able to use Agent 360, sorry, the admins would be able to use Agent 365 in the M365 admin center, and they'll be able to see all agents across the tenant. They will This would provide them like a single view of agent inventory, ownership, and activity as well. Next would be the monitor usage and health aspect to it. So the agents would be able to track agent adoption, usage, runtime, and exceptions through the agent overview dashboard. This would help identify where agents are used and whether they are performing as expected or there's some issue around it. Next, agents would be able to govern access and lifecycle as well. So the admins can control which agents are approved, who can use them, and manage inactive and ownerless agents over there, right? Which should not be there in the first place, but yeah. So this would ensure agents follow organizational governance and compliance policies. So next, the admins would be able to secure agents as identities. So this is what Microsoft is intending to do. So we need to treat agent like digital identities using Microsoft Entra, and through Agent 365, this is what the admins would be able to do that. So admins can enforce least privilege access and conditional policies to control what data and systems agents will be able to can access that, right? And so this is going to like mirror how admins already secure users and applications today. They will be able to do the same for agents as well. Next is around managing risk and compliance. So Agent 365 would integrate with Defender and Purview to monitor agent behavior, detect risks, and protect sensitive data. So this would provide auditability and security oversight. So next to Dinah for AI governance with Purview.
Right. So Vibha just mentioned with Agent 365, the compatibilities within Purview already and how it helps to monitor and keep things secure. And this is essentially a list of how it Agent 365, Microsoft Agent 365, connects with Purview to better manage data security and compliance for all of these. So exactly kind of how. Purview can already implement protection and governance control for AI usage and help mitigate and manage any associated risk. There are various capabilities or solutions that can be used to manage data security and compliance for Microsoft agents, including data security posture management, DSPM for AI, and already DSPM preview already in there. Auditing capabilities, data classification, sensitivity labels, encryption, but only with sensitivity labels. Without it, it's not there yet. Data loss prevention, insider risk management, communication compliance, e-discovery, data lifecycle management, and compliance manager. All these features are already well established, the features within Purview, and already very critical and technical governance to include in your organization strategies. AI is now also being taken into consideration and easily fused into, meshed with these already existing policies and security features. So that was talking about how it's connecting with Agent 365. Purview also has a capability within Microsoft to govern various other AI apps. So in Microsoft Purview solutions, not just Microsoft 365 Agent, you might see the supported AI apps grouped by the following category names. So you have Copilot experiences and agents, or Microsoft Copilot experiences for supported Copilots and agents, and that's going to include apps like Microsoft 365 Copilot, Security Copilot, Copilot in Fabric, and Copilot Studio. And so that's just like under the name there for Copilot experiences and agents, also with a couple other being Studio, Facilitator, the channel agent in Teams. You have another grouping that would be enterprise AI apps. So that's for non-Copilot AI apps and other agents that are connected to your organization through your intro registration, data connectors, Microsoft Foundry, and other methods like intra-registered AI apps, ChatGPT Enterprise, and Microsoft Foundry, I already mentioned. But and then last category that you might see are other AI apps, the other category. But these are ones that are detected through browser activity and categorized as generative AI. So in the Defender for Cloud Apps catalog there, this category can include AI apps and agents from the other two categories, so from Copilot experiences and enterprise AI apps, but it's uniquely includes AI apps and agents from third-party LLMs such as ChatGPT, Google Gemini, the consumer version of Microsoft Copilot, not the business version, and DeepSeek. So those are just like some of the category names that you'll see when trying to implement various governance strategies and technical policies within Purview. Also, you have the ability within Purview to utilize sensitivity labels and data classification for all those various categories. So within these features, you can use Microsoft Purview sensitivity labels and data classification for AI governance already. So that includes using data classification to provide a comprehensive framework for identifying and tagging sensitive data across various Microsoft services. Classifying data will usually come first in that process to ensure compliance with data protection regulations and safeguards against unauthorized access, alteration, or like destruction of data. And then also using out-of-the-box or custom sensitive information types and trainable classifiers within Purview. Those can be used to find sensitive data during AI activities. So in either user prompts when people are using these AI apps or responses, and then those results are logged, taken in to surface in the Microsoft Purview reports overview and Activity Explorer for DSPM for AI. And then the AI activity tabs in the Activity Explorer, it's already well integrated. So basically it just can pull in those out of the box or custom sensitive information types and surface it in other Purview reports for people to just be able to have a quick overview or in-depth analysis. Purview also expanded to include discovering, protecting, and governing AI app and agent interactions using solutions like Microsoft 365 Copilot, Security Copilot to proactively reduce the risk of oversharing or leaking data, for example. AI apps that Microsoft Purview support use existing controls to ensure that data stored in your tenant is never returned to the user or used by a large language model if the user doesn't already have access to that data. So when the data has sensitivity labels from your organization applied to the content already, then there's an extra layer of protection in there. So sensitivity of the data is displayed to users in the app with like the label name and content markings, so such as like header or footer text if that's been applied, if those have been configured for the label. When the sensitivity label applies encryption, users must have like the extract usage rights. So they have to have the permissions to be able to view or get like the app to return that kind of data at all. And then this protection also extends to data stored outside of your Microsoft 365 tenant. So for example, like local storage, network shares, and cloud storage when it's open like in an Office 365 app. So like that data actively in use. So aside from sensitivity labels, another great option, another big solution within Purview is using data loss prevention, DLP policies. So Microsoft Purview DLP policies expanded a lot with all the additions and features of AI-generated content or AI apps to be able to have DLP policies help users identify sensitive items across Microsoft 365 services and endpoints by using deep connection inspection and contextual analysis to protect sensitive data such as financial records, health information, intellectual property, and monitor sensitive data across all M365 services. So like non-cloud applications, Power BI, Fabric, M365 Copilot, agents, on-prem services, endpoints, browsers, networks, everything is expanded within data loss prevention. And then Microsoft 365 Copilot and agents have been included to protect enterprise data during those AI activities. So then an example being like Windows computers that are onboarded to Microsoft Purview can be configured for endpoint DLP policies that warn or block users from sharing sensitive information with third-party generative AI sites that are accessible via browser. Sorry, blanked for a second on the word. That's like user being prevented from pasting credit card numbers into ChatGPT. They'll be able to see a warning, and then you can configure the policy however you like for scenarios like that. But implementing sensitivity labels, implementing DLP policies to protect data in your organization, also using Purview audit capabilities to capture AI prompts and responses. So audit being another big one. The audit solutions within Purview provide comprehensive tools for searching and managing audit records of activities performed across various Microsoft services by users and admins and help organizations to like effectively respond to security events, forensic investigations, internal investigations, and compliance obligations. So like other activities, prompts and responses are captured in the unified audit log for Purview audit, and then events can include how and when users interact with AI apps and can include which Microsoft 365 service the activity took place in, and references to files stored in Microsoft 365 that were accessed during the AI interaction, during those activities. So if the files have a sensitive label applied, that's also captured. These events, when taking place, will flow into the Activity Explorer in DSPM for AI and the Activities tab in the Activity Explorer for the preview version as well. And then where the data from prompts and responses, like all of that can be displayed there. So this is how like you can integrate and use the audit solution from the Purview portal to search and find for these auditing events as they're related to AI activities from users and admins. And then another big one, the last one that I'll touch on, is e-discovery. So Microsoft Purview e-discovery lets you identify and deliver electronic information that can be used as evidence in legal cases. So the e-discovery tool in Microsoft Purview supports searching for content in Exchange Online, OneDrive for Business, SharePoint Online, Microsoft Teams, Microsoft 365 Groups, and Vibha Engage Teams. You can prevent that information from being deleted and use e-discovery and the Microsoft Graph Explorer to search for and delete user prompts as well, but it can also search for and delete AI solutions in supported applications and services. So integrated with the AI aspect in there. This can help admins find and remove sensitive information or inappropriate content included in these AI activities. You can search and deletion workflows can also help admins respond to data spillage events. So like when content containing confidential or malicious information is released through an AI related activity. So because user prompts and responses for AI apps are stored in a user's mailbox, users can create a case and use search when a specific user's mailbox is selected as a search for this query. And then after the search is refined, you can export the results and add those to a review set. So you can review and export information directly from the review set. And all these things already available within eDiscovery if you're familiar with it, if you've ever been a part of legal investigations and all of those. But now it's including all information, being able to search and hold information related to AI activities. That's just any interactions you have with these AI apps. And then I'm going to pass it off to Vibha next, talking about the governance framework to be applied from there. All these solutions, and now how to approach it.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Dana. Okay, so the framework basically should be a phased approach towards the AI governance. So this approach would allow organizations to adopt AI governance incrementally based on their maturity and risk profile. So we start with the envision phase, which would focus on understanding why governance is needed. So it would lead to understand what are the business goals, AI ambitions, risks, and success measures around that, right? The next would be the define phase, which would establish the governance foundations, including policies, roles, guardrails, and decision frameworks, which are very essential. The third one would be the blueprint phase, which would address the lifecycle management and compliance. So it would design how, this phase, basically we would design how content, data, and AI capabilities are going to be governed end to end, right? The next stage basically is the build, which is where the AI governance AI ready governance is going to be actually implemented using technical controls, configurations, operational processes, everything that Dinah has just, given a good understanding of, right? The last stage would be the maintenance part, which would ensure that the governance actually evolves over time with monitoring, reporting, and continuous adoption, training, and compliance alignment. Next slide, please. All right. So as I was just mentioning that the maintenance is a very essential part of it, right? So governance isn't just something that we just set it and just forget about it, right? So as AI evolves and compliance rules change, the organizations definitely need to, definitely need to continuously refine their governance approach, right? And organizations that continuously actually refine their governance through regular audits and updates, and also with feedback that they receive from the teams, those are the teams which actually stay ahead of risks while maximizing efficiency. Yeah, over to you, Dinah, for the the use case that we have that we need to discuss. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Vibha. And yeah, all the things that we've talked about, whether it's between agents or within Purview, everything related to sensitivity labels and policies and everything set up and processes and how you use AI, when and where to use it, this all applies into the real world. So you have scenarios and examples of organizations where governance might have been a lack of governance, and then that could lead to unintended data exposure. And just some examples that I'm talking about in this slide of like what happened and how could it be resolved. And like a big example that probably is the easiest to talk about is like when ChatGPT first dropped. It was shiny and new and fun and seemed to be like the answer that so many stressed out employees with an overwhelming amount of tasks on their plate exactly needed. But there were a lot of dangerous cases circulating news outlets of employees sharing sensitive company data with these third-party generative AI tools and not keeping it safe within the organization. It immediately went to oversharing and becoming a risk because they didn't understand how to safely use these tools for their daily tasks. And to fix this, it really comes down to implementing any of the governance policies we've discussed today. But like an immediate fix for that kind of situation with ChatGPT would be restricting shadow IT in organizations. So restricting just letting anybody add whatever app into the organization they want to be able to use. And just going for solutions approved by the organization instead. So again, not completely stopping users from being able to be productive in their own way and getting what they need to use or what's most efficient for them to get their task done, still allowing for growth, still allowing for productivity, but making sure it is just in a structured, ideal process to be able to, one, implement these tools in the first place, and then how people use them. Some examples, aside from the biggest news one, being like an employee could prompt Copilot for information on a coworker. So, like, say they were trying to make a marketing blog or something to give kudos to someone, but because it was just information about a coworker and this organization didn't have proper safeguards in place, it ends up pulling in a response and ends up that user could end up receiving private employee information. That's what do you do about it there? You have to report it. You have to immediately restrict access. You have to stop people from using those apps, those tools. But also, talk with your users and see like what is actually helping them in their day-to-day task and what could be improved within the organization, what could make people more productive. And then just whitelisting tools within organizations that people can use. And this can come into your already existing security audits that come, depending on how big your organization is, could come in quarterly, could come in biannually, could come in once a year, depending like how big your organization is and how much work you need to be putting in, depending on all the processes and everything that you might have in place. But having designated stakeholders in charge for those audit reviews, security reviews, having the necessary stakeholders involved when it comes to data security, when it comes to compliance and regulations, and then when it comes to AI as well, having an appropriate resource within your organization to share all of that. And then just, meeting quarterly, biannually, annually, however it needs to keep up to date with any of these AI policy or regulations that are actively evolving. And then an organization where governance is done right, you can have a proactive approach that can accelerate Copilot adoption and like executive sign-off. So this can be worked on an active, like for an example of how from start to finish, you can work on an active cleanup initiative to review permissions and data quality long before implementing Copilot in your organization. You can make all necessary governance decisions to keep data secure, and performed through blueprinting and documentation during discovery and define. Some those cycles that were on the slide when Vibha was speaking. You can apply those required settings and policies to specific locations to make sure the data is partitioned and secure in the exact right way, and only people who need to see it can access it, even pull it from these apps in the first place. Choosing specific admins to test the first wave of Copilot licenses before implementing Copilot in the organization, and then providing sufficient onboarding and ongoing education for users, and then implementing those audit policies. So you're continuously coming back and seeing what's working, what can be better, what's not working. So then I will wrap it up and then pass it off to Prem for some of the key takeaways.
Awesome. I'm just gonna kick it over here. All right, so we kind of covered why governance is the foundation of AI success in Microsoft 365. So the key takeaways here is governance is the foundation, lifecycle management and compliance keep data secure. AI thrives on well-governed data, and governance is an ongoing thing. So I'll take it to the next slide here. Okay, so in here I wanted to talk about more, if anyone of you guys have any questions, we're happy to answer here right now. Great team here to support you guys as well. So I'll give a few seconds. Anyone? I guess it was a great session, of course. All right, perfect. Once again, we appreciate your participation in today's webinar. Keep an eye out on your inbox for a recording of today's session, certificate and handouts. We look forward to seeing you again for the next month's webinar session. Thank you all.